AI. What is the latest and greatest? We have a special guest to tell us.
And here we go. Be sure to visit soundmind.app, peachjar.com, and nicholsstrategies.com. Advocating for public education, sharing our stories, and celebrating our schools, students, and staff. From crisis communications to media relations, social media, and everything in between. We're here to give you the best strategies, tools, and techniques to help you help others. Welcome to the School PR Podcast, brought to you by Peachjar, SoundMind, and Nichols Strategies. Here's your hosts, Matthew Jennings and Ryan Ferran.
All right. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the School PR Podcast. Thrilled you are with us. Matthew, we're talking AI today.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this topic. It is definitely something that many of us have started leaning into over the past several months, but I think it's even more capable than many of us are even leveraging at this moment. Happy to have our guest on today to talk about this.
Fermin Leal, Chief Communications Officer from Santa Ana Unified School District, a big district. Fermin, how are you? Thanks so much for joining us.
I'm doing great. I'm so happy that you guys have me on. This is quite an honor. I've known you guys for a really long time, so to be able to talk to you in this format is really exciting for me. So thank you.
I feel like everyone about a year ago, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, got into AI, checked it out. We all got on ChatGPT. We put in press releases, and some of us are like, oh, okay, I can use this. And then I think a lot of people kind of forgot about it. I feel like Fermin, following you on LinkedIn and social media, you have kind of kept at it. You've done so many cool things. So I encourage people to follow you on LinkedIn, but we thought we'd have you on just to talk about kind of the evolution of, I think a lot of us kind of were curious about AI, but then we haven't really stayed with it. I feel like you have. So we just want to talk about AI, how you're kind of using it, what you're experimenting with, and the capabilities of it. So I guess we'll start there. When did you kind of first discover AI, and what were your first impressions, and how did you slowly kind of get into it?
So I think my experience is similar to a lot of us in communications and a lot of us just in general in the professional setting. ChatGPT, when it came out, everyone was like, wow, what's this amazing tool? And it could do so much and as far as writing and creating different content. So that's where I started. I started to help me write press releases, to help me write written messages, speech writing, all that we tend to do and tended to take a lot of time, but now was more efficient because of ChatGPT. And then from there, we wanted to continue to kind of explore what else was possible beyond writing, beyond scripting, beyond speech creating, and then we kind of just jumped into the rabbit hole and really saw the different things that it was capable. And it's just it's grown from 1 week to the other. It's like, wow, this new tool can now do this, and this new tool can now create this crazy content that before either took us like several weeks to do or was just impossible with our resources.
What are some of the platforms you've been utilizing? Because I know most of us, if we tried AI, it's usually ChatGPT is one of the ones. Have you used anything else, and kind of where has it taken you so far?
Yeah, ChatGPT definitely remains our primary tool for kind of creating outlines, for creating content, written content, for coming up with ideas, for coming up with lists of things to even think about. So we use that daily. In our entire communication teams, our entire school district, our superintendent is very active on using ChatGPT. But beyond that, one of my favorite tools to use is for video creating is heygen.com. That's a platform that allows you to really dive into the video creating world of AI. Allows you to create a virtual avatar of yourself, allows you to create videos where you're talking in different languages. It generates images of you talking in the different languages. And you could also do voice work with that. You can record yourself saying anything, and then after that, it has your voice, and you could just type to speech. So that comes in handy with doing voiceovers. It comes in handy with doing just kind of different things that you just use your voice and video imaging of yourself. Adobe Firefly is another tool that we're just starting to use. That's an image software, image generating software. So you basically prompt Adobe Firefly and say, I want a photo or a graphic of a panda eating an apple, or a student. It doesn't actually do real photos. It just kind of does graphic or
like animation or something like
Rendering.
that.
animation. But it does do a lot if you want to just create a graphic, just saying like, it's Red Ribbon Week. Can you create a graphic about why it's important to celebrate Red Ribbon Week and include a school and include like a classroom setting? And you just type that in and it generates that for you. So those are the ones I use the most for ChatGPT for audio, for text, HeyGen for video generating content, and Adobe Firefly for image generating content. And obviously, ChatGPT OpenAI has the DALL-E platform that's similar to Adobe Firefly. So there's all these different tools that are coming up all the time. That almost daily, it's like, hey, there's this new platform that does this now. But those are the ones that are sort of our go-to.
You know, I just want to say, Hey Jen, if any of you out there have not seen the work Fermin has done with Hey Jen, I'm not even sure we're talking to the real Fermin at this point. That's how incredibly real it is. And obviously easy it is for him to even put his voice into different languages, which is terrifying. You know, there are a couple of things I want to say. There is one other tool out there that I know people are using. So I have the benefit of traveling around to a lot of conferences, headed out to COSPRA next week. So shout out to Colorado and COSPRA in Breckenridge next week. Looking forward to seeing the Colorado people. There's one other tool that Google has. It was called Bard. It's now called Gemini. Very similar to ChatGPT. It's text functionality. I know some people are using that successfully to create like just some crisis comms or emergency comms stuff or speech writing, that kind of foundational level thing. So if you don't want to dip your toe into ChatGPT for whatever reason and trust Google more, Google Gemini is a free product as well. I will say that one way I know that people are leveraging what you were just talking about, Fermin, in videos, in video editing in particular, is if you have like a superintendent doing a voiceover or something and they say like, oh, we have 23 schools. Later you find out, you know, you really have 27 schools and they misspoke. Using this like software you were just talking about with your voiceover work, you can actually go in and without even ever re-recording with your superintendent, edit that out. It uses the voice so the superintendent's saying the right thing, and you can go back in and just in the voiceover stuff correct it really easily, and you never even have to go back and bother your superintendent or anybody that for that matter that you were interviewing. I mean, we all know how tough that is sometimes to get in with a superintendent. That brings up the moral and ethical piece, right? Because now you are literally altering what someone has said. So I say this with a grain of salt. Obviously, you'd want to go back and get approval to be doing these kind of things, but that is one of the things that I saw at a recent conference and a way that somebody's leveraging the technology you had mentioned.
Yeah, that's pretty cool because even in TV shows you watch, I was watching Parks and Rec the other day, and you can tell when they need to go back and make an audio edit, they can cover it with video or whatever, but it's like, yeah, we have 27 schools. And then the audio edit is like, we have 27 schools. And it's like so obvious, that you can hear the difference. I've seen it on TikTok a lot where these people are using it now. Like LeBron James will be speaking at a press conference and they do the script for him. Sounds just like him. And it's like what we think he really wants to say, which is incredible. He's like, come on, AD's not doing anything. I'm carrying the load with these losers over here. And it's like, it's dying. And at first you're like, oh my God, LeBron said that because it sounds exactly like him. But then you're like, okay, obviously he didn't say that. But it is amazing. But I didn't think about it, Matthew, with the video editing tool where it's like, okay, we don't need to reshoot this whole thing or cover it up with video, redo the audio. That's another really, really cool way to use it.
Yeah, it is neat.
Yeah, so we use that. We've done that actually with our superintendent when we recorded messaging for him for the community. For example, we recorded a message about a budget update for the district, and we actually had to go back and adjust some of his comments not in the English version. We haven't done that yet, but in the Spanish version, we were able to just go in and type what he actually wanted to say instead of what he said. And we were able to just type it in, and AI just generated him saying that in Spanish. But you do bring up, Ryan, the ethical part of it. And I know this is a huge part of kind of the rollout of AI and generative AI, is how do you approach it ethically? How do you ensure that what you're creating is authentic as it can be? And more importantly, that your audience understands that this is where this is coming from. So we do record still. We have the ability now to, because we recorded our superintendent saying so many messages, to create basically an avatar of him that we would just type him saying anything. So it's very easy to say, hey, we need our superintendent to say graduation, congratulations, class of 2024 message, but he's not available, or we can't get him into the studio till next week. Why don't we just go in and type the message for him and then have generative AI create the video of him saying that? So we're not doing that at this point. We don't believe that's ethical, to just completely have an original script be provided or be generated for someone to say. So we do still want our superintendent, whenever we want to record him, to come in the studio and then record him. But we are able to kind of make those fixes in the editing process, where, like, you would use Adobe Premiere or Premiere Pro or whatever tools you use, like Photoshop, you still use them to fix little things in the content you're creating. So that's how we're using AI to in that way. But we're not creating original kind of messaging from a real life person at this point. We don't think that's the best use of generative AI.
And that's a blurry line. And like Ryan said too, that, the LeBron example on social media, right? And we see that a lot. You're seeing it a lot more, and especially like the political landscape right now as well. I mean, this is wrought with all kinds of pitfalls here.
I'm thinking of so many good ones people could do. Right?
Oh my gosh. And it's also wrought with some really fantastic things, right? Like you mentioned, that's comedy with the LeBron thing, right? And I think I've come across several too that it's like, really? And I had to look that up. Like, no, that didn't happen. Okay. So it is an ethical thing. It's going to be really interesting to see how it is leveraged, because it is such a blurred line at this point. I'm positive there are many people out there that haven't fully considered the ethical component of it and have probably just run full on, like, you know what, I couldn't get the person to record this. I have enough. Let's write a script and get it done. But it brings up, should we be doing that? There was one other tool I wanted to mention that I've found at a conference that is also being leveraged successfully, and it's LALAL.ai. I don't know how you pronounce that. LALAL.ai. And it's how this was leveraged by this particular person is like they were filming in a classroom and the teacher had music going, and this will isolate the music track behind it and completely get rid of it. Way beyond what you can accomplish in like Adobe Premiere, like, where you're just reducing the background noise and then it always makes the audio funky. This like literally strips it out. It's really incredible technology. They actually showed it to me and they demoed it in several different ways. One of the ways that was really crazy is you could take any audio track at all and put it through this technology and isolate every single instrument. Like if there's a full orchestra, you can isolate just the trumpets or just the cellos, or you can plot just the vocals. So we've all seen these videos on social media where like famous musicians like Queen, for example, it's just the vocals, right? That's how they're accomplishing this, is through this technology. That one is a subscription-based technology and it's a little bit more pricey, but I guess it saved a couple of videos that from copyright infringement because there was music in the background. So another tool that's interesting.
That would, Matthew, I wonder if Lala, as I'm calling it,
Lala.
So sometimes I've had this happen very recently. That's why I'm not thrilled with Riverside FM, the studio we're using right now, is it'll default back to my computer microphone and not my good plug-in microphone. Is there something like that where it can take your audio and make it not sound like you're in a well, saving Timmy down there?
Not great. I asked that question actually from a professional videographer at the last conference I was at, and that's literally their work. And pretty much no. If you have really bad like voiceover audio, not through a great microphone. There really isn't a technology that boosts that yet without getting really grainy and kind of a loss. I'm sure that'll happen. It's akin to a really good example would be like a photo that's really high ISO. You know, when you try to bump that contrast, it starts getting really grainy. It's exactly what's happening through the audio. So the more you bump that volume, the more it brings in all the extra noise. And I'm not talking about just ambience, just even the source, the electronics through the cables, everything. So no, that isn't really out there yet. And what's funny is the reason that came up was because there was a professional shoot that a lot of dollars were on the line for, and some audio was ruined, and it was just really not able to boost it enough to fix it. So
I did see in Canva actually just had a big reveal, big kind of public of their new AI generated platform. And the Canva is just amazing now. I don't know who, if you guys use Canva, a lot of us doing communications to create anything from flyers to presentations to a lot of different content. But they actually do have some of those tools now. Again, it's not 100% kind of fixes the audio, but you can isolate the voice in a video and amplify it, sort of make it more clear, especially again when you use like when you're using your iPhone to record a video, you're just talking to your phone that's maybe not have the best way to record you in a noisy area, but you can run it through the system that does clear up the voice and the audio a little bit. And Canva also has a part of their new features now is where you have a video and you can just tell it to give me the highlights. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but
sounds
if you have like maybe like a 5-minute video, and either you want to create like a little commercial for the video, or you just want someone just talk forever. So you don't want to interrupt them by stopping the camera or asking them to kind of get to the point. It has a highlight function where you could just say, give me the highlights of this video. And it will go into the video and basically cut together what it considers to be the highlights of the video. And I've tried it a couple of times and it works pretty well. Basically, it just goes in and cuts and stitches together a shorter version of that longer video that really kind of goes to the point of what the video is. And it has so many other kind of cool things that I'm still trying to figure out, but those are the kind of two big things that I saw from the new Canva update that was just released just this week.
That's cool. I know a lot of people went to that big Canva conference. I wonder if it came out of that. That was recently. I know some people wish I had a highlight button for when I ramble on and ramble on. Just Ryan, give me highlights. That would be great. Fermin, you mentioned earlier about lists that you use AI to generate some of the list. I'm curious to what kind of list are you putting in there and how is it helping you with that?
So anytime we need like ideas, basically we use it for sort of one example I would say is we're creating a new show with our superintendent, a cooking show, basically where he meets every episode with someone from the district, whether it's a student, a parent, a staff member, or just someone in our district community. And they do basically a 15-minute cooking show. So the guest will have a recipe and they would just go over it. And then during the recipe, the superintendent and the guest would talk about whatever issue might be relevant to that person's involvement with our district. So we needed like ideas for topics. We knew that we wanted to shoot 5 episodes for the first season. So we just went into ChatGPT and described it briefly. We're doing a cooking show with our superintendent. He's going to meet with various members of the community. We need 5 episode titles, and just type that in, and it just gave us really a lot of really great ideas. We did have to go in a couple of times and readjust it, but we ended up with the 5 titles for those shows based on just typing in that. And also, anytime you want like a list of like, give me 10 ways to create a social media post that addresses this issue, or give me a list of 10 things that the superintendent or I should be aware of when I'm talking about this important issue. So we had an issue at one of our schools with it made the news. A video shot by inside the classroom. It showed kind of not good things going on inside the classroom. So I went into ChatGPT and I said, give me 10 talking points when I talk to the media about how you can talk about this video without providing any information that would violate confidentiality or personnel issues, and it did give me 10 talking points that kind of met all those marks.
Wow, that's cool.
That's really cool. Yeah, you gave me an idea with the Adobe Firefly, because we do a Mental Health Mondays campaign during Mental Health Awareness Month, and we've been using kind of an older graphic thing, but that would be a perfect kind of give us a new updated mental health awareness little image with our logo maybe embedded in it, and that would be easy and quick instead of like keep running out the same one. But some of those things, and on our websites where we have different pages and things, I think that would kind of a graphics generator, because you can get so much done so quickly and refresh things and the look. I think that's great. I think we were all kind of petrified, with AI at first, and I think the fears have a little bit subsided a tad. We talked about the ethics. I feel like we've all put in a press release, and I've never seen one that I'm like, okay, this is perfect. There's always edits I'm making to it. So I feel like AI still has room to grow. It's great for templates to get you started, get you ideas, like you said with Fermin with the list and some of those things. What are some of the maybe the next big iterations people are talking about, whether excitement or fear, and things that people should kind of keep an eye on or how they can utilize it?
I think all of that excitement, fear, amazement, all that is going to continue as we continue to evolve with this technology. Like Matt said, those videos of people saying things that are funny to us, and it's in a moment of comedy. Those are kind of catching on TikTok and social media, but that could be used in a lot of different ways that are very negative for elections, for example. We've seen that with people's images being taken and having them be in videos that they should not be in, or having them say things that they shouldn't be saying. So I think that's going to continue, and it's only going to become more prevalent as the technology becomes more accessible. So I think as communicators and just consumers, we just need to be more aware of what we're watching, that just question the validity of it and question the source of it, and make sure that we understand that whatever we're seeing now, it used to be that if you saw something on video, then it happened because it's on video, but now that's not the case anymore. So just question the validity, question the source, and if you're creating the content, just question yourself, and am I using this to the best of my ability? Am I using this ethically? Am I using this in any way that's going to deceive or misrepresent what I'm trying to show? So we have to continue asking ourselves those questions. As far as like the new amazement and things that are coming down the pipe, OpenAI's Sora platform, which is basically just text to video, that's coming pretty soon. And that's going to be really amazing, where you can just type in what you want a video to have. And there's examples of this already on OpenAI's website, where you just type in, show me a beach in Hawaii, and show me a dolphin jumping through the water. And it'll actually create that real video. So it's not going to be animated. It's not going to be kind of graphic or anything kind of like that. It's going to be a real video of what you type in to the prompt to create. How we'll use it in communications, I'm not sure yet. Obviously, we have to kind of follow those same ethical standards that we would use. But that's going to be another game changer, where people are just going to start creating videos very easily. You're going to see this flood of new content being created that it's not real. It's basically just generated by, in this case, OpenAI. So again, it's going to have a lot of positive effects and a lot of negative effects. But for us in education, maybe you want to show, especially when you're working with students, you can't always videotape them doing, kind of showing them just because of privacy issues. Maybe you just want to show like, show me a generic classroom where students are learning about whatever from behind, from the back of the class. So you're not showing students' faces, and it might create something that you might be able to use. Again, I don't know what the answers will be, but Sora, the text to video, I think is the next big thing coming up.
Yeah, I wanted to double down on that for him, and that's what I'm hearing at all the conferences as well. ChatGPT, the whole text thing, where we're making lists, like you had mentioned, where we're writing speeches, where we're writing maybe crisis and emergency comms through this software. That's at a level right now that is fully functional, completely functional at the level that it is, and it is only going to improve absolutely insanely exponentially every single hour of every single day as we all use it. So that one's done. The next big one is the video and the video things that people are working on right now. You mentioned all of it, so I won't go through all of that again, but I was going to mention the whole text to video thing. That's insane. There are
But
some pitfalls.
I think you can use that for real quick. I think you can use that for enrollment campaigns. Like, hey, do a video about how great our school district is and
Yep.
why you should want to work here, and why you want to send your kids here, and all the things we offer. I mean, that would be because we all spend. Think about the money we spend on doing those videos, hiring firms, and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do that in 20 minutes. Oh my
Yeah, I
goodness.
mean, if you've got 37 schools, you wanted to go in and say, make me a quick 1 minute promotional video for each school, and you've got the work done in 20 minutes. It's really, really incredible. What I want to say in the cautionary tale that I've run into, just in the people that I've been talking to about this, and it actually a district will remain unnamed here, but we did have a district just a few months ago, was it, that a student was using AI inappropriately to swap out students' heads with nude bodies, and created quite a stir that way. And so just remember, the technology that we can leverage and use as also for nefarious purposes can be leveraged by anyone else out there in any one of our communities. And probably the savviest of users of all of us will be our students, who are in fact digital natives in this marketplace and know how to leverage the software in really, really unique ways. I want to say, you've got your student groups on campus. Don't be afraid to maybe lean into that. Maybe there are some really positive ways that you can use it, like Ryan was just mentioning. We were mentioning maybe some promotional or highlight videos at some of the schools, leveraging your students and your student led groups there in your associations on campus might be a really good idea. Might be a bad idea. Could be something. I mean, it could already be happening. So having some control over it, but being really careful too about what is out there, and how basically anybody in the community
Yeah.
can leverage this technology. I mean, think about, you're one, you public comment, right? Something is, somebody's upset in public comment, and then they go and they make some video using AI, and maybe your board member saying something in this AI version that wasn't said. I mean, it's really, we're talking about being ethical and moral about how to use these tools and resources, but that's where I was saying earlier, it gets really gray really quick because not everyone's going to follow that moral compass.
Well, and I wonder, in the case of LeBron or the politician, where people are doing the fake scripts, and, you know, I mean, there's got to be legal ramifications, and, you're putting heads on other pictures, and like that is a misrepresentation. There's libel, there's slander. I'm sure that applies somehow. I don't know that we have a ton of case precedents with AI, but I think you can put it back into that context of this is not the representation. You're lying about me. You're slandering me. So there has to be those legal ramifications that probably do have court precedents already. And Matthew, when you were talking, I was thinking about the first case I heard of probably a year ago where the ethical question came up. It was a college or university crisis on campus, lockdown, maybe people injured, and they created their message through AI, and that they didn't tell people they did that. And it's like, we offer our deepest sympathies, and somebody was hurt, maybe even killed. And it was like, are you kidding me? Use an AI bot to send out something that sensitive, and they got grilled for it because, obviously you're trying to connect emotionally, offer sympathy, and it's like, come on, you ChatGPT did that in 5 minutes. Do you really care? So
So we had, yeah, we sorry to
no,
interrupt,
go
but
ahead.
I, so we've had similar experiences where we've had a crisis on campus and all different crises that we all deal with in school districts. Um, Before you used to either go to your kind of Calspra or Inspra would put out crisis templates that you would sort of rewrite. Now you can do that with ChatGPT, but again, like what we call it is ChatGPT and AI, especially for writing messaging, is a thought partner. Uh, they help us kind of create the message, but ultimately it's up to us to make sure it's reflective of what happened, and we put a human touch on it, and we're able to kind of write it in a way that best fits with our community. But the actual bones and structure, I think, I think, uh, I think we're using that. You're seeing it more and more to with AI creating those actual bones, but it's still going to be up to the person or to the human to make it real or make it emotive or make it kind of resonate with your community. Because you can tell now when you start hearing speeches through the graduations or whoever's giving a speech in public, that you can tell almost that they're using AI just word for word and not really changing anything. A lot of it sounds the same. There's a lot of common words that you hear over and over that people don't really talk that way.
Mm.
And you can say, well, that person used ChatGPT for that. I can tell. But it's up to us to kind of have that start and then go in and make it more authentic, more real.
Well, you
What
bring
if,
up a
what
good
if somebody
point.
writes a novel? What if somebody writes a novel with AI? I'm sure it's happened already, but like then you don't change anything. Did you write that?
No, you didn't. Well, you bring up a good point, Fermin, because people have been using templates for years. So what's the real difference between a template generated through AI or a template you borrowed from somebody else? You didn't write that either, and you weren't transparent about that you used some of that template that wasn't yours either. So that's actually a really good point. And also, you're spot on. Some of the social media posts, when it's like generate a social media caption, you can spot those if you use ChatGPT for more than a day, a mile away. There is a formula to it. And so that's where I think there's a lot of room for improvement. I mean, the emojis, they're at the beginning, they're at the end of the sentence. I mean, it is so formulaic. You can tell if nobody edits that and they take it straight from ChatGPT to social media stuff. And there is a rhythm. They love the list. They are loving, caring, and enthusiastic. I mean, that is ChatGPT to a T. So it is interesting, and it's still it's so exciting, but you can still see there's room for improvement, which is kind of crazy.
You got to make it yours. Like Furman was saying, Curtis Campbell and I we had a conversation about this about a year ago from WASPRA up in Washington, and I have to differentiate because Washington is WSPRA and Wisconsin is WSPRA, so WASPRA Washington. Anyway, Curtis and I were talking about it, and we were talking about that kind of that moral, ethical thing you just posed, Ryan. Like, what's the difference between the templates? And the truth is that you can ask it to write you a letter to your community, but it's not going to be in the voice of your superintendent. It's not going to be in the voice of your district, and you are going to have to change it. And really, I don't know if either one of you know. I don't recall right off the top of my head, but like copyright laws, it's a really low threshold. You only have to change something a certain percentage in order for it to be considered uniquely different, and it's a very low threshold. I can maybe Google that really quickly. And so you're likely going to be changing it. First of all, these templates are automatically generated, so it's not like you're stealing the work of an individual. It is out there. It's open sourced information. So that's another thing. Unless it's pulling directly from copyrighted material and like just verbatim that in, which is very possible, then you're probably okay already, right? But the fact that you're going to go in and change it, and you really should be putting it in your own district's voice and making sure that it's in the voice of that principal or administrator or whoever it is that's being sent out on behalf of.
And that's another thing that we used to do as communicators is a lot of us write speeches for our superintendent or for our board that they use and go out in the public and use, and they don't go out and say the speech was written by my communications person or the speech was written by my speechwriter. Everyone does that. The president, everyone who speaks publicly has support in writing their speeches. That's been happening since the beginning of speech writing or speech is being given, and no one ever credits like the speech that I'm about to deliver was written by my speechwriter so and so. So I think that's a little bit similar but different. That we have generative AI who can help us write those messaging points, but again, as we said, you have to make it your own. You have to go in and make it in the voice of that you want to make it in. If you know your superintendent or you know your board member, you know what they want to portray as far as a speech. So even though ChatGPT gave you a starting point, you still have to go in and make it into what it should be. And I think like speechwriters, I think ChatGPT can be like a partner in that. And I don't think we need to credit every single thing that's part of content that we put out, because then we would just be crediting Photoshop, we would be crediting uh,
Canva.
Canva, we would be crediting the dictionary if you don't know how to spell a word. So at some point, you have to kind of make that distinction, but also with the mind that you have to make it authentic.
That's really interesting, Fermin. I will say that Google tells me it's 30% of any copyright has to be changed in order for it to not be considered infringement anymore. And honestly, I think that's a really low threshold. Only 30% of any work, 30% of a logo, 30% of a script, 30% of anything, I guess that's copyrighted, and it's no longer copyright infringement. So, I mean, you're going to mess with that much of it anyway, just putting it in your own district voice.
The point about speeches, though, is a really interesting one because we all know that in the back of our minds and are okay with it for whatever reason. With AI, though, I feel like we're a little bit more offended for some reason, maybe because it's so new. Like, oh, the message from your HOA was like, if you found out that was AI, I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit more to it. But you're right. The president stands up and gives it, it's talking to millions of people. We all know in the back of our mind, he didn't write a lick of that. But it's also like, when I've been asked to write things for people, I'm like, I feel like, man, don't you think it would be so much more meaningful from your heart talking about this? So I think there is something there. And I do think because AI is so new, while we have so many examples of templates and speechwriters and ghostwriting and, people are running somebody else's social media accounts, I don't know. I think there's something a little bit new and nuance to it where we're like not digesting it fully yet, but it's really interesting because we have been borrowing and templating, and somebody else has been writing our stuff for a long time. And look at autobiographies, and it's like they all have writers. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, this is awesome. This is a really good conversation. I mean, it's fraught with a lot of benefits and it's fraught with a lot of perils. It is going to be interesting to see how we proceed as just a community, and honestly, I mean, like just humanity in general, with this, because it's certainly, as far as communications goes, it does make our day. It can make our day a lot more efficient and effective. I know the conferences that I've been going to, it's still a huge topic, and it fills the room every single time. And in every room that anyone's ever asked, "Hey, have you started using AI yet?" Raise your hand if you haven't. Hands shoot up. So, interestingly enough, there are still a lot of us out there that have not leaned into the tool yet. And if you haven't, I would encourage you to at least pop into that Google Gemini or ChatGPT to start with some of your basic scripts, that kind of stuff. I mean, I know we've talked about some of the formulaic things that pop up, but it can make social media posts easier to write. It can make speeches easier to write. Just beware of like what Ryan's mentioned, what Fermin's mentioned about some of the things like, that are going to come out of it that is going to look like something everybody else has done. So put it in your own voice.
Yeah, but I think I feel like AI is the new social media for school PR and similar industries for 15 years ago, where it's like some people were just not getting on board, but it's a very helpful, as Fermin called it, a thought partner. It's a very helpful thought partner. It's very smart, and it's going to give you ideas instantaneously. You don't need to call a meeting with 4 people. It's just like, boom, here's some ideas, take them or leave them. But you're always going to get a few good nuggets that you didn't think of, or something phrased like, ooh, I like how they eloquently said that or put that. So I think it's good. Matthew, I was using Peach Jar not too long ago, and I feel like there's some genius AI in Peach Jar because I was sending a flyer and it knew exactly what grades it was going to. I mean, I think it said something in elementary or middle school in the flyers, but I didn't need to go in and select all the grades, and I was very.
We are rolling out a lot of new AI. We're rolling out a lot of new technology in our system right now in our platform. Simple submission, which is great. So when you upload a flyer, it's going to pull out the title, it's going to pull out the hyperlinks for you, it's going to pull out the locations, the phone numbers, it's going to create buttons on your behalf. We know that engagement's higher if you have call to action buttons, and we know a lot of people skip that just because they don't want to take the time to copy paste a hyperlink in. And so on the front end, when you upload a flyer now in our system, it pulls all that out for you and does all that for you. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's going to keep getting even cooler over the next 12 to 14 months here. But I'm glad you noticed that. It's happening.
What I love about it is, and Peach Jar is obviously a sponsor, but what I love about it is you're adding technologies and advancements and iterations, but it's not becoming harder to use. It's actually becoming easier. I've had platforms and things that I've used where they add stuff, but then it's like I have to relearn it and do it another way. And I'm like, stop adding stuff because now I have to relearn this. Peach Jar, you add stuff, but it gets easier. I'm like out of there in an even shorter amount of time. So I love that. Our other sponsor.
That's so good to hear.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. It's just amazing.
Our team's working really hard on that. So that literally, I'm going to pass that back to the team. That's really, really good to hear.
Yeah, I know you don't listen to the podcast you're not on, but I've mentioned that a couple times recently that it was like, oh my God, I posted this flyer. I just knew exactly who I wanted to send it to. And it was amazing. And you should start listening to the School PR podcast.
I'll work on that. I'll add it to my podcast list.
Yeah. But tell the engineers that's amazing because that's the toughest thing is to add, even with this platform that I tweeted about Riverside. I've loved it for years. I recommended it. And the only reason I tweeted like I'm not really recommending it anymore is because I recommended it publicly to so many people. So I'm like, I'm almost shying away from it, but they add a ton of new features. The problem is there's glitches with the old features that just used to work. One example would be my microphone. I have the external one plugged in. It always used to just know that was default. They have all these AI features now, but now I have to go and switch it back. And I'm like, I got an episode ruined. But that's what I love about Peach Jar. The engineers have done an amazing job. They're adding new features, but they're not changing things. You know, it's very intuitive. Nickel Strategies, if you need help, you need an AI thought partner, they will do it. Crisis, they have all these case studies, campaigns, enrollment strategy. We just had Emily on from Nickel Strategy talking about accessibility. There are new federal guidelines that we all need to be doing. She is an expert in the area, gave us so many tips on that. So listen to that podcast episode on accessibility because there are federal guidelines that are kicking in very soon. And we also talked about Matthew with the OCR complaints, which a lot of people are getting, and those seem to be perking back up. So even if it's not a federal guideline yet, an OCR is not out of the realm. So I'd listen to that and check out Nickel Strategies. Fermin, this is such good information. I appreciate you staying on top of AI and kind of giving us the latest and greatest because I feel like we all looked into it, we got away from it, and it's really cool to hear some of the new platforms you're using and how you guys are kind of staying on top of it. It's awesome.
No, thank you for having me. And like I said before, this is a really exciting time for communications and for people in this industry. And I think, as we all talked about, there's so many positives, but there's so many things that we need to be cautious about too. So just keeping these conversations going, I think is a huge help for those diving into these new technologies.
And I just wanted to say, this is Matthew Jennings, that Ryan Ferran is the greatest podcast host in the history of the world. So I'm going to change that into Matthew's voice using some AI later.
You have enough video of each of us to create avatars of us saying anything at this point.
Absolutely.
That's like the LeBron video. Nobody will believe that those words actually came out of Matthew's mouth.
That's what's fun. That's what's fun about it. Absolutely. Anybody that knows us will know the truth.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Love you guys both. Keep up the great work. It was super fun catching up. Fermin will do it again in another few months, and there'll probably be all these new things coming out that we can chat about. So enjoyed it. And until next time, we'll talk to everyone later.
See you, Fermin.
Sounds great. Thanks, everyone.